One Punch Man, Chapter 116, Playtime. So this was a fun little chapter, some pretty cool sequences in here, and the most important thing is that this is all new to the manga. None of this has happened in the webcomic, so it's super interesting because we who have read the webcomic have no idea what's going to happen. So all of these new events is pretty cool to see, and I think this is more so just a setup, more than anything, of what's going to happen in the next chapter, which I have a lot to talk about, but more so towards the end of the review, but let's get into it. So it's opening up where the previous left off with Saitama chasing Flashy Flash down the Monster Association hallways, and we're just seeing that Flashy Flash is further recognizing Saitama for the, the absolute freak that he is. But then it's also revealed that Flashy Flash doesn't even really know where he's going. And we knew this beforehand because, like, a few chapters back, whenever it, like, randomly cut to Flashy Flash, post-Chapter 96, we see that he's just randomly going in directions. Like, in one instance, he just, like, held up his sword and then just dropped it, and then whatever direction it fell, he would go that way. So, he's just as lost and privy to information down here as Saitama is. And I think this just might be setting up that they're probably not going to be getting into anything significant anytime soon. Like, so far, it seems like they're just running in circles. So I just wouldn't get your hopes up if you're expecting, like, Saitama and Flashy Flash to, like, get into the meat of things sooner than later. So then it cuts to the surface, and we see the support team still in action, taking out the lingering fodder monsters. And I really like the support team. They're one of my more favorite additions to the manga, especially with this arc. I think they're all great characters and they have a lot of potential, and I think there is significance to them. I think they will be, higher ranked in the future, and for sure some of them will be S-Class heroes. They mentioned it more than once, so I don't think that's too far-fetched. But we're also finding out, because they have Waganma. That was, I think, the last time we saw them a few chapters back when Child Emperor had passed off Waganma to them. So I think that's just further showing, like, okay, so what are they doing with Waganma? Are they going to take him back to the Hero Association? Like, what's going on with that? But then, just randomly, Nyan's on the surface. And when you just see Nyan in the background just walking up by himself, like, kind of like the Terminator, this is such a cool sequence, and also because they don't even really know who Nyan is. Like, at first, they're just like, oh, he's just a lingering fodder monster, because, why else would they assume? Because I don't think they really know what any of the executives look like. And our boy One-Shotter is the first one to step up to the plate and just take him out from a distance, the smart thing to do. And this is where we're getting the first really cool sequence of this chapter. And we're also seeing that, like, the power of cadres/executives and disaster-level dragon monsters in general, because this bullet is kind of like moving slow to Nyan. That's how insane his reflexes and speed is, because he just holds up his finger and, like, makes the bullet ramp off of it and go right back at One-Shotter in a pretty gruesome sequence here, because it's like hitting One-Shotter right in the head. So is One-Shotter dead? I don't think so. I don't think that any of these heroes are going to die. I mean, maybe one of them, but as we've seen so far in this series, it's not really typical for heroes or just humans in general to die. I mean, of course, some humans have died previously, but they were really more so ancillary characters. Most of them probably didn't even get names, so I don't think One-Shotter's going to die here. And also, if you look closely, you see that the bullet's kind of hitting him in his eye patch mechanical thing that he has on his face. So that's probably saving him here. But he's definitely out of commission for sure. So then Nyan extends his ultra sharp claws. This is like his main weapon / method of attack. And we saw that he was capable of doing this first back in chapter 105 when he went against Puri Puri Prisoner. We're also seeing his insane speed here. I love this sequence too. So well done by One and Murata, because they're just looking at Nyan and they're just talking. And then all of a sudden, just like if you look like behind Jet Nice Guy, just as he's talking, you just see Nyan appear behind him, and no one else is even able to comprehend what has just happened here, because they're still talking. They're like, wait, where'd that cat go? And he's just suddenly in the middle of them, just showing how crazy fast he is. This is such a cool sequence. And then, like, out there, just the blood is coming out of them immediately, because during this sequence, he was able to immediately go up to them and then slash them all in the process. So, like, within a second, he's taken out 4 of the support team heroes. So, in an instant, Jet Nice Guy, Needle Star, Gear Spur, and Twin Tail are just done. They're likely going to be out of commission for the rest of this arc. They are not S-class heroes, and they're taking a savage strike from a cadre here, so I don't think they're coming back from this anytime soon. And it's also, we're seeing, like, the motivation for Nyan leaving, and it's because of Saitama, which is pretty smart, pretty pragmatic move here by the cadre to just get out of there, because he realizes that there's, like, really no chance of taking down Saitama, because he was also seeing what he did to Rover, and that his claws had really no effect on him, so he's like, yeah, there's really no point in doing this anymore. I'm just going to do my own thing. But then Nyan also reveals that he quote-unquote quit the Monster Association, so he's no longer just doing things for them. Just from here on out, like I said, he's just kind of doing his own thing. But that being said, he notices Waganma, and he kind of just wants to kill him for sport, I guess. He's not really trying to help the Hero Association, like, oh, let me recapture Waganma and take him back to Gero Gero for their own agenda. It's like, no, he's just a crazy, bloodthirsty psychopath, and he just wants to take them all out just for his own amusement. But then we get to this awesome sequence where they're all teaming up and trying to hold Nyan while Food Battler is able to take Waganma back to the association headquarters, which is odd that Second Guard would, like, pass off Waganma to Food Battler of all of the heroes, but of course there is a reason for this, and we can't sleep on Food Battler. And while he is kind of gaggy, he does have some skills. He is nimble, he is agile, but as for, like, straight up movement speed, doesn't seem to be so much, but maybe that's the whole point of this. But I really like the sequence here when we see Green and Strange Binding Shell team up, and, like, they use the vines and the S&M rope thing that Strange Binding Shell here has, and they're legitimately holding him in place. Like, it doesn't seem like Nyan is able to muscle himself out of here, or else, you know, you think that he would have. But then we see Mizuki throw that discus thing at him, and he just straight up, like, chomps it in his mouth. So cool. So overwhelmingly powerful. And then Poison comes up with him and goes for the eye. Very smart, but not even that is enough. Just closing his eye and, like, flicking his cheek up just snaps the blade. And then he uses one of his insane abilities where he becomes paper thin, gets out of the bind that he was in, and then just easily takes out Shadow Ring and Feather. Another thing here, pretty cool, this is the first time we're seeing Shadow Ring without her mask on, and she just looks like a cute, you know, girl, ninja girl with shuriken little hair things. I think that's a kawaii little added feature there. And as Food Battler is running away with Waganma, it appears off panel that Nyan also takes out Mizuki, Green, and Strange Binding Shell. So at this point, all of the support team are down, except for Second Guard and Food Battler. And then we see, of course, he's going to go after Food Battler and Waganma because of his own sick agenda, killing for sport. And that's where the chapter ends. So what's going to happen here? Is Food Battler going to show us why he keeps needing to replenish his energy by continuously eating? Is he going to use some ultra special ability that's going to take out Nyan here? I don't think so, but there are some really interesting possibilities of what's going to happen in the next chapter, so let's go over it. So I think one of two things are going to happen. So first, let me go into the one that's probably more likely, and I think Genos is going to show up. So Genos, who still hasn't been in the battle yet, hasn't even left Saitama's apartment. That's where he's been this whole time. In chapter 94, I think he decided to stay there and wait for Saitama. And then we caught back up with him in chapter 106, I'm pretty sure 106, when we saw the reaction shots to everyone after Saitama had punched Rover. And we see that Genos is still in the apartment, of course, but he was, like, cleaning dishes and stuff, and he had, like, an apron on. But then he was like, whoa, that felt like it was coming from Saitama. But then we don't see anything after that, so maybe Genos was like, you know what? If Saitama is out there fighting someone, I have to go there and help him. I have to go see what's going on. So maybe Genos had left after that, and he's on his way to the Monster Association, and maybe at this point he's going to intercept Nyan and then take him out, possibly, because also, you know, it's heavily implied that the form that Genos is in right now, which I call Daedric Genos because his armor looks like the Daedric armor from Skyrim, maybe he's powerful enough to just solo an executive or a cadre on the level of Nyan, and that would certainly give Genos his big win, something that's really eluded him in the series so far. And like I said, Genos staying in the apartment is not what happens in the webcomic. Like, in the webcomic, Genos is with Bang and Bomb. So now that he's unaccounted for, and we know Nyan is unaccounted for because he's new to the manga as well. He is not originally in the webcomic with the war and everything. So now let's go into the second theory, the one that's probably less likely, but the one that I really desperately want to happen, and I think Drive Knight is possibly going to show up at this point and then take out Nyan himself. So I've talked about this ad nauseum at this point. I recently made a video about it. You know, how Drive Knight is very likely to be G5. The samurai robot that we saw a couple chapters back go against Atomic Samurai, but then they had that whole little weird ending with it where Atomic Samurai hacked him up, and then the quote-unquote core of him wasn't able to be cut, and then he just seemingly escaped. So what could be happening here is that the piece, the core of Drive Knight, allegedly, that was in G5, that wasn't cut up by Atomic Samurai, him running away, leaving the Monster Association, might line up with him running into Nyan here. And then he, like, reunites with his body, and he becomes Drive Knight again, and then he's like, I'll help you guys out, and then he takes out Nyan in an epic fight, because we really haven't seen Drive Knight do anything either. We've only really seen him go against those fodder monsters when he was interrogating them, I think back in chapter 66. So this would be a big win for Drive Knight. That would be awesome, but it would also give credence to the whole theory about him being G5 and him being a part of the organization. It would just be so epic. And then maybe he himself escorts Waganma to the Hero Association. So that takes Drive Knight out of the picture, because he's also not in the Monster Association war in the webcomic, and that ties up his loose end. Or we could just get a double banger here, and Genos and Drive Knight just team up and take down Nyan. That would be incredible, but I think it's going to be one of those two things. But let me know what you think about it. I enjoyed this chapter. I hope you did too. Let me know all your theories, what you think is going to happen, because chapter 117 is going to be a big one. So if you liked it, please give it a like. I also have a Patreon. It gives you access to a weekly Q&A. And if you haven't already, please subscribe as well. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next one.